Well, there are people among us who are heaven sent, and something within their hearts yearn to help others and bring joy and hope to our community. Well, our guest is one of those unique and special people. Amy Gray-Cunningham donated her kidney to a perfect stranger after reading a post on Facebook. Well, thanks for coming here and bringing your book. I want to talk more about that in a little bit. But I think what strikes us all is just anyone who's willing to give of themselves in such a profound way. So, Facebook of all places.
Yes.
Did you ever think that you'd become an organ donor?
No, not at all. I had absolutely no clue that you could even donate a kidney. While you were still alive, I knew you could after you passed, and I was a donor on my driver's license, so I thought I was doing good.
Yeah, right.
Which is good. Don't get me wrong, that is good.
It certainly is, yes.
And when I found out about David, I knew that I was supposed to donate the kidney.
So you really didn't know much about organ donation?
I did not.
And so David is the recipient.
David Ensley.
Okay. And during this process, so you happened to log on to Facebook and you were just going through your feed. How did you find this particular post?
Actually, my husband found it. He was friends with David's sister, Jennifer Ensley, in high school. My husband and I were high school sweethearts. And we broke up for several years and got back together on Facebook, actually. And one night I was cleaning the kitchen. He was in the living room going through Facebook. He said, "Hey, honey, remember Jennifer Ensley?" "Nope, can't say as I do." Yeah. "Well, her brother needs a kidney." And I was like, "Oh, I really hope someone steps up to help him." And right there, right then, instantly, I heard, "That person will be you." And I just knew that I would donate this kidney. Now, it took a while after that to actually get to that point, but it was very interesting.
Because you have to become a match.
Yes.
Right? So it's one thing to have the desire, it's one thing to have that inclination that I want to give life to somebody else by donating a kidney, but you also have to become a match.
Yes.
So what was that process like?
I ended up being a 1 in 20 million match to David. We were such a close match that he only takes like 2 anti-rejection drugs a day, twice a day, which is unheard of. Our kidneys were such a close match. So I really think that this was a divine intervention. It was meant to be. And when I first found out about it, I did a lot of research online, and one of the things I found was I like to read books. Couldn't find a book really on the topic. What I could find, everything was so, talked very technical and very big words, and I'm like, totally lost me. Right. And then the other ones I found were so dry, it was just, you couldn't turn the page anymore. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons I wrote the book. But when I was going through the process, you go through all sorts of testing, and you have to fill out the application. And I remember getting the package in the mail, and it was like this thick. It was a huge package of stuff, and I thought,
what did you get myself into?
Yeah, exactly. Do I really want to go through this? It's just like, wow, it took a whole weekend to fill it out. And I don't know if the process has become more streamlined now, but 8 years ago it was fairly, it was like a big package.
So you've been living with one kidney for 8 years?
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
No difference.
Really? Okay, I want to talk about just the lifestyle and any changes, and also David, if you happen to know kind of how it has affected him as well. But it sounds like it wasn't really a difficult decision to make to give your kidney to David.
I knew I was going to do it. The difficult part was getting my family and friends to understand why, because David, I didn't know David. I had never met him before, and I just had such a yearning to do this. And God gave us 2 kidneys for a reason. You only need one to survive, so why not share your spare?
I like that. Share your spare. That's a hashtag if I've ever heard one.
Yes, that is a hashtag.
Yeah.
It is actually a hashtag.
Share your spare. But you were friends with his sister, so it seems like there was kind of a divine...
I was not friends with his sister. My husband was.
Oh, your husband was.
Yes.
But there's like a divine...
intervention there, yeah.
Yeah, there certainly is. So talk about more how you had to convince your family that this was something that you wanted to do. I mean, it's your body, your kidney, your choice, but a lot of times family have something to say in regards to something like this.
Well,
I'm sure they were worried.
I remember we had left some function, and my husband and I were at dinner, and we were talking about the fact that I had been approved, and he got very angry and actually walked out of the restaurant. He had gotten very angry with me. And we had to really work through this because he was afraid for me going into surgery. I mean, there's always a risk. There's always a risk. And one of the things that he brought up was, well, what would happen if one day one of our boys needed a kidney and you were a perfect match for them, but you couldn't give because you already donated to someone you didn't know? And that was something that I had to really think about and contemplate and go through. And what I came up with was I had to have faith and believe that if at one point him or my boys or someone in my family needed a kidney, that God would provide for that kidney or for him with the perfect match as well. The same way that he's providing for David. And I just have to trust and believe. There's no guarantees. I could not donate to David based on something that may or may not happen in the future.
So you get back what you put into the universe. All right, well, you did write a book about it, and I want to hear more about daring to believe. We need to take a break, so when we come back, we'll talk more about her book and her journey. Stick with us. And we're back with Amy Gray-Cunningham, kidney donor and author of the book, Daring to Believe. And we were just ending the last segment with that moral crossroads that you were experiencing of feeling compelled to donate your kidney to a perfect stranger while your family was concerned that one of your children may need it down the road. And so how did you overcome that process?
For me, it was coming to terms with the fact that if that were to happen to one of my boys, that a kidney would be provided for them later on. As you had mentioned, you know, the universe giving back what you give so freely. But also, I think for my husband, it was after he had the opportunity to talk with the doctors and the whole transplant team, and he realized what I was doing and why. I think that was it was a big deal for him at that point because it became real for him. And once he was on board, I mean, we were off to the races. So.
Yeah, I know, it's true. So once you filled out the very large packet of information, you read through it. So it comes time to do the deed. Now, did you and David meet beforehand?
Yes, we did.
You did. So you got to know one another
a little bit before.
So it wasn't completely anonymous by that point.
No, not at that point. We had to call, and actually, I was approved, and I had to go through the CAT scan to see which kidney they would do, and that's an expensive procedure. So they wanted to find out from David if he wanted to move forward, because legally they couldn't tell David who I was or what I was doing.
And who pays for it, by the way?
His Medicaid or his insurance.
His insurance does. Oh, okay.
Yes, and that's actually a really good point that you bring that up, because for a lot of people donating, that could be a very financially scary time, especially throughout the recovery part, because you take 6 to 8 weeks to recover, and I was lucky enough to have 100% of my short-term disability to cover it. So once I heard that, I knew that was another level of confirmation for me that this was something I needed to move forward with.
So is that in regards to like bed rest and the healing process?
Yes.
Just
time out of work.
Itself, just time out of work.
Yeah, just time out of work. The only thing I had to pay for was a mammogram and an OBGYN appointment.
Which is something that you would get anyways. So instead, though, your employer should give you a raise for just being such a good person. So if they're watching, then yes, they should have done that if they haven't already. So comes time for the surgery. You have the surgery. You wake up, and what was the feeling like after you woke up from surgery?
Oh, I remember. I remember kind of waking up in the recovery room, but then I was right back to sleep. And when they brought me up to the room, my husband came running through the door, kind of running around the corner, and as soon as I saw him and the smile, I was like, oh my, it was a success. I could just tell by his, and I knew it was all going to be okay. It was.
And any changes in your lifestyle?
No. Nope.
Really?
Not a thing.
Not a change in your diet? Do they tell you to reduce salt or anything?
The only thing I can't take is ibuprofen, because that's processed through the kidneys. But other than that, and I drink a lot of water, so my kidneys are very healthy as a result of that. So if anybody wants to learn how to take care of your kidneys, drink plenty of water.
Drink plenty of water. Just flush out the impurities.
Yes.
Have you seen David since?
Oh, yes, I see him quite often. Actually, his baby daughter is getting married in a few months. So.
Oh, goodness.
Yes, so
now, why did he need the kidney?
he had polycystic kidney disease, and it was inherited. His mother actually has it, and she's actually on dialysis. She's 80-something years old and on dialysis now as a result of it.
There's
So.
millions of people who are on dialysis right now. Well, you've now put that experience into this book, Daring to
Yes.
Believe. So what can people take away from reading this book?
It is kind of a twofold. One, I wanted to provide an opportunity for those who wanted to donate to read a book that was funny, entertaining, page-turner, hopefully. And to also give them a little bit of information about what to expect, because there was a lot of things that happened after the surgery that I really didn't expect to happen. And every surgery is different because every person is different. So what they experience is going to be a little bit different. But hopefully they can get kind of a baseline based off of the book and some of the things that I went through, like or I can't remember the name of it, but you have to blow into it and get the little ball to raise up so you can keep your lungs going. Nobody ever told me about that thing, and I think it's a Chinese torture
Is it? Yeah.
machine. Yes, because it was really hard to do.
But at least you've encapsulated the experience,
Yes.
and so people know what to expect.
Hopefully,
And
yes.
and it also is inspiration for people to do what you've done.
And it's a book about daring to believe, especially when you hear a calling on your life so profound like I did. It may not be as profound for other people, but when you have a feeling of wanting to give and wanting to help and make a difference in the world, whether it's being, a mom of 5 boys, or in raising the boys to become men of integrity and of faith, and or being the first woman president, maybe.
Sure.
It's just daring to believe in what your mission is here in this wonderful world that we
Well,
live
you've
in.
done a wonderful thing, Amy. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
people can find your book on Amazon.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll have that information on our website, foxcharleston.com. We're back after this.